Hello, so today we're having a look at using some planes, angled planes, 3D sketches to create like a geometric shape. So what I'm going for is like a geometric plant plot or lamp base or something along those. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're in ordered modeling. We're going to create a sketch and then we're going to choose our top plane on there for our sketch. Next, if we go to our drop down from the rectangle command and go and find our polygon by center, here we can go and choose kind of how many sides we want. So I'm going to do 8 sides on this one, and I'm going to go and snap this to that point on there, and then choose smart dimension and dimension up the circle on there. So let's go 150 on here, diameter. If we hadn't snapped to that dimension, we could have done a single horizontal vertical on one of these lines, and that would have locked the rotation of there. So if we close that and finish on there and cancel, before we get too far, let's go and save this. Okay, so I've just saved that as geometric.pir is that one. We can choose to save that however we want. Okay, so now we've done this, a few little things to know. If we wanted to do a angle plane, which we want, we can choose a plane, but we can't use these edges, so we need to kind of have an edge that we can use. So I've just pressed escape to come out of there. So we're going to go to surfacing and use the bounded surface. Make sure it's on chain, that should be the default setting, and then select on that edge and then accept and finish that. We're not going into any of the options, and then just cancel to come out of there. So now we can go and create a angle plane. So if we go into here and go and create a plane, I don't actually want to create an angle plane because I want to try and keep this as simple as possible. So I'm going to go into sketch and I'm going to choose angle plane on here. So we can go and select that surface, go and select that edge, choose how we want this to be on here. So notice like we want that in this, we want it in the right kind of orientation. And then we can go and choose that. So let's go and do that. Let's do it at 135 on there. And obviously 135 can go up or down, so you got to do a left click to confirm that on there. So that's gone normal on there. If we do spin it round, we can do Control H to go back, to get back to our view, or we can do our sketch view down in the corner on there, up here as well. Loads of different ways of doing that. So first thing I want to do on here is I want to project this edge. So I'm going to project that edge in on there, and then I'm going to draw a couple of lines coming up here. I'm going to just hover over the midpoint and go and snap that to the midpoint and go on there. I'm going to use the equal command. We can actually do this by clicking on a line and then this little dialog box. Sometimes it appears by the mouse, depending on what your settings are. We'll get those kind of options as well. And then if I choose smart dimension, click on this line, depending on what our settings are on here, it should be on automatic, so that should allow us to go and do that on there. And it seems as though we didn't actually connect the endpoint of there to the endpoint, so I'm just going to make sure that all of this is connected, just using the connect command on there. And just check that this kind of changes okay, so change that to 45, change that to 35, yep, and then close that sketch, and then we can see on there actually that's I want that to be a little bit more, so I'm going to go 150 on there, and then click finish and cancel. Again, I'm going to now go into my surfacing and I'm going to go to my bounded, and I'm going to choose that profile and turn that into a bounded profile on there. Okay, so now we're going to start using 3D sketches. So if we go to our home tab and go to the 3D sketch command, when we start 3D sketch command, we don't get a line command, so we're going to have to go up to our line command on there. And then what I'm going to do for the first line, I'm going to pick on the center, and then I'm going to come over to here. And then the next one, I want to lock to the z-axis, so I can click on that z, and that will go and lock this to the z-axis. Or I can use the Z key on the keyboard to go and lock to that. I can press C to clear locks. As I press the Z key, you'll see that was going between those different orientations. I press the X key to go and lock to a plane. We're going to use that quite a bit. So if we press C and then click on the Z, that's going to allow me to go and create that line. Right click to cancel that, and then I'm just going to go and smart dimension that. So I'm going to build up these dimensions as we go and make sure our relationship colours are on when we're doing this. So that option should be on there, And I'm going to go back to the line command, and I'm going to go and make sure there's no locks on. Remember, if it's not letting me lock to it, I've got these. There's also other little things on here as well. So on plane, and make sure none of these are selected. It makes sure the line then just goes straight from point to point rather than doing anything kind of clever on there. So we've got our first profile. Notice where I'm building this, so I can use the YZ plane to mirror, and then we can pattern around. So I'm just going to kind of try and make this one kind of section on here. Obviously I've done that vertical. I could have kind of brought that in if I wanted to. So I can use that as kind of like a bit of a guide, but I'm just gonna keep that one the way that is on there. So I'm going to close that sketch. That line can stay as it is. We don't need to turn that into construction or anything. And then we can go and do our bounded surface for that one, and then accept, and then finish on here. Sometimes with 3D sketches, it's nice to have an additional plane as well. So I'm going to go and create a plane by 3 points on here as well. So I'm going to click on that point, and the top point on there. That's going to have a plane that I can now go and snap to and keep relationships to on here. So we've got that coming in, so now I want another kind of triangle coming out at a different kind of angle. So again, I'm going to go back to my 3D sketch on here, and I'm going to so this edge is existing, so we've got a similar kind of thing we can do, 3D include, and I can include that edge. I can then go to my sketch on there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to create a construction line. So I'm going to lock to the Y point, and I'm going to come down here, and then I'm going to use that to define the how far we come in there, and then I'm going to do another line that is going to go and come up here. So I'm going to just spin that around and place that there. I'm then going to come back to this point on here. So notice it's trying to do something weird, so just kind of make sure that that goes and it shows where that line is going. I'm then going to escape, and I'm going to go and create the line from that end point to that end point on there. So that is our 3 sides that we want, but I'm just having those because they're nice and easy for us to go and control, and I can go and pop some dimensions on those. So I'm going to do 80 on that one as well. And let's go 23 on that one, just so that looks correct on there. And then let's just click on that edge and kind of just have a little look, see why that isn't connected. It looks as though I haven't got the ends connected. So as soon as I go and use the connect command on there, and I get the endpoint of that line, so the endpoint of there, and then the endpoint up there, and then the same down here, use the endpoint and then snap to the endpoint of there. We should eventually get a line that is fully connected. I didn't quite get the right endpoint, so let's just try that again. Let's use quick pick to get that endpoint and that key point, and now that's fully defined. Let me just fit that on there. For some reason I've got a strange relationship, so I'm going to get rid of that one. So that's our next little kind of segment that we want on there. So if we close that sketch and then go back to the surfacing tab on that and get that one bounded up. So for this one, because we've got extra lines, we're going to have to use the single command and make sure that we find the appropriate option. So I want to make sure that I use the edge in 3D Sketch 2, the sketch even in 3D Sketch 2, and then click finish on there. We can tidy this up and see what this looks like. If we do hide all sketches, that'll allow us to kind of see what that looks like. We can even go and turn that plane off and just see what we're starting to look like, and use our view cube to kind of get an idea. So the idea was these were kind of wanted to be the same height. So I can go back to that 3D sketch. I can do my edit definition. I can just kind of drop that down slightly and use my cube to kind of use my view cube in the corner to kind of see what kind of shape we want that in. So 70, let's go 72. That looks pretty good to me. and then close that sketch and see what that looks like again on there, and then hide that one on there. So we've got that looking kind of okay. So we need our next one on here, so that's going in. So we want another triangle, with this being the bottom edge, coming up, coming out here, and then another one that's going to kind of go to that plane. I'm going to turn that plane on because that kind of makes life a little bit easier to work with. So new 3D sketch. Again, use the 3D include command and go and choose that edge on there, and then go to the line command. When we're connecting on here, we can use our quick pick and just kind of make sure that we are getting the endpoint and we're not connecting to the bound on there. Again, this one I want to kind of lock it to a plane. So remember, I said the X key. I just tap through the X key until that's locked to the appropriate option. Use the view cube to get that how I want, and then I want to kind of bring that out so it's not quite that corner, but so it's down a little bit. And I want to kind of make this quite a bit bigger, so we're going to have this section quite a bit taller than what we've got. And we can see we've got our extension line showing on the bottom where that is, so I'm kind of quite happy with that one on there. And then come back down to that endpoint, so just kind of rotate your view to make sure that we can choose the appropriate endpoint on there. Notice we're still locked to that plane, so if I close the quick pick and press the C key, all the locks are cleared, and it's easier for me to go and lock back to that endpoint on there. Again, this line probably needs kind of constraining, so if I choose my smart dimension, I can choose my lock dimension option, and then I can go and choose the plane that I want to lock my dimensions to. That will allow me to go and pick that line. If I press the shift key, that's going to allow me to go and create a vertical dimension, and if I go do that again and press and hold the shift key, and that's going to allow me to go and create a dimension going that way as well on there. We can check, so we haven't turned black yet, so we can obviously go and see that we've got some kind of strange link on there not working, so I'll just move that, and then let's go and connect that to that point. And then this one on the top, I want to use this on plane command. So if I click on plane, click on that endpoint, and then if I hover over and select that plane, that is going to go and lock that to that plane that we wanted that on there. So that line's now gone black. This one's probably similar to the other one, so I'm going to click on the line, click and hold that point, we can see where that is, and we can now make sure that that is connected to the correct endpoint on there. I can then close that and then go back to my bound. Same kind of process again and again on here, so quite easy. So just checking we're on sketch 3, that's correct, and then finish. Now last one, obviously we've got our plane 4, so we're going to do the same as what we've just done, apart from we're doing that now using kind of doing the same as what we did, but locking to plane 4 on there. So again, I'm going to go and copy that. I found we actually had a bit of a problem copying it, so I'm going to try this a slightly different way. I'm just going to go and create a line by selecting those two edges. So I'm going to go up here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the kind of front view there to get the kind of shape that I want, and just create those two lines. They are in completely the incorrect position, because I want to use on plane again and make sure that this point is on that plane that I've done on there. So if we've got some kind of relationship issue, it means that there's probably something else already. So I would tend to go and remove that connect relationship, remove that endpoint, and then do an on plane of just that endpoint. So let's just double check that. Using the top command on there, that should definitely allow me to do that. So allow me to move that all over the place. So let's just try that the other way instead. So let's choose that one and that plane. There you go, that's done that one. And now we can connect that to that endpoint. It might be that line has got some issue with the other end, so I'm just going to go and remove that and go and create this line the other way on here. At least we haven't done anything else connected to there, and connects that to the endpoint on there. That's created a parallel constraint, which I don't want. So that's the shape going out. I want to kind of bring this kind of in a little bit. So I'm going to do I want to do a distance between dimension, and I'm going to choose that endpoint and there, and that's going to allow me to go and control how that kind of goes in on there. So we've got that looking good on there. If I then do a smart dimension and press shift to get the height on there, actually we don't need that one. Let's do a smart dimension and choose this length on here. That's going to get that fully defined on there. I'm going to use this kind of to make sure that we've got a nice flat top on there. So if I go and change that to, let's try 150, probably slightly, actually 150 looks spot on. It's going to give us quite a nice top. And then we can close that sketch and we can go to our bound. So we're probably getting bored of that now, but it's kind of what works quite nicely. So 3D Sketch 4 is the one that we're working with. And then finish, and if we just do a quick Control S to make sure that's saved. So we've got our kind of shape that we want going up. So first thing we need to do is go and mirror this. I'm going to hide this plane because we don't need that one again. And I'm going to go to my base reference planes, and I'm just going to turn on the right plane because that's the one we want for mirroring. Probably would have been a good idea to turn that on earlier. Always nice to think about these at this point. So what we need to do now is go and kind of mirror. So if we go to whichever kind of mirror command we want, notice we've got mirror copy part. So if we choose the mirror copy part, we need to use this for mirroring surface items. Notice this one hasn't kind of changed in colour, so sometimes you have to just do a click on those, accept that, choose the plane that we want, and then click finish and then cancel on there. So that looks okay on there. If we just do another quick save on there, there's something strange going on with a bit of a construction on there. Have we got two items? It might be that I selected that twice, so I'm just going to go into that mirror, go back to my select step, deselect those and just make sure we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, accept and finish. That looks better. So now we need to go and pattern it. So we need pretty much everything apart from that kind of first item on there. So I'm going to select that over there, choose the pattern command, and then choose mirror. Select the, slightly different in here. So yeah, go and choose those items you want to mirror. I was doing a synchronous mirror on there. Accept. Choose the plane that we want the sketch on. If we hover over that face and press the P key, that allows us to kind of get that how we want it. So if I select there, that's kind of going to give me what I want. Choose the circular pattern option, click on the center, probably click on that midpoint and then left click with that blue arrow, just say, well, I want to go that way. Make sure our count is on 4, 8 even, not 4. Left click with that arrow, and that should fully define that straight away. Close that, and then click finish. And this is the point where we kind of need to be going back and checking it. So what we need to do now is go and check for gaps between it on here. So that means that one's all good. So because we built that parametrically, I'm just going to go and reduce that on there. We should be able to go back and everything should work correct. So we should easily be able to go and change those sizes on there because we've built everything. Everything has been fully constrained. If it goes out of kind of the values it can do, we might still have issues on there. So we might have to go and rebuild and fix things on there. So once we've done that, we go to our surfacing. If we choose our stitch to stitch command, click OK with the default settings, fence select everything, right click and finish. That's then going to give us a single surface body on there rather than all of those faces. And then we can, I would tend to go to the thicken command, choose that body, select how thick we want to go, and then choose the thickness on there and then click finish. and then we're probably halfway to getting what we want, because we'd want to go and add rounded edges. We'd want to go and look at these kind of little kind of faces that have kind of gone wrong. So I'd be going in here and I'd be spending a lot of time doing kind of replace face. So replace face with that one, and that's going to go and sort that one out. So all sorts of different kind of things we can do on there. So it might be that we replace those two with that one. That's going to go and sort that out, and just go all the way around and do that. Add the appropriate rounds that you need, and that's going to look pretty good. If we turn off those, we can see what that item looks like. I'm just going to cancel and just do a hide all sketches, hide all reference planes, and hide all. Let's do coordinate systems as well. So we can see we've got quite a cool looking part. Okay, hope that was useful. Thank you.